I'm going to take it that if you've been on social media for the past 48 hours, you probably already came across some video over somebody being outraged because of the most recent trailer for the live action The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid and Snow White, surprise, is not going to be all about a boy. Stars confirmed. Now, the article can be found over on theconsequence.net. You can go on and read it, but essentially it says, big news, right? The Little Mermaid and the upcoming Snow White live adaptation are not going to be about a boy. As a side note, as you can also see in the cover here of the article, people are already getting preemptively pissed off because, newsflash, the live action adaptation for Snow White will also not be portrayed by a Caucasian actress. But I think we can wait. Right now, I think we're mad about the Little Mermaid. I think we can put Snow White to the side for a moment. Now, again, you can go and read the article on your own, but essentially it says on there that the actresses are saying, hey, this is not going to be about the prince, this is not going to be about the boys, this is going to be about the girls. And to that, I'm just going to say very quickly, was it not about the girls before? Because it felt like very much it was about the girls. You can argue and say, well, it's because the boys came and saved the day at the end of the day. I guess, but at the same time, the stories are named after them. It is about the girls. Hey, what is the journey that these princesses are going under, throughout the whole movie, which is fine. Like, I can very much enjoy the Snow White story or the Cinderella story or the Little Mermaid story as much as anyone else and not be upset that it's not about the boys. Among these stories, the boys have always been like a side thing, like they're supporting roles. I think this is one of those ways that some of these publications try to get people to get all pissed off, and unfortunately it works. But getting back real quick to why people are pissed off about the Little Mermaid. But before we jump into everything, if you don't mind, as always, making sure you leave me a comment about anything that I say throughout the video, drop it down below. And in addition, if you already rang the notification and the subscription bell, thank you very much. And the like button. If you can also become a member, I would forever be eternally grateful. I'm trying to think of little perks that I can bring you. Thinking about maybe member lives or like member emojis or bringing on members on here to be co-hosts. Like, I don't know. I'm thinking, I'm trying to think out the box and stuff like that. So again, suggestions, drop them down below. But yeah, if you can also become a member, thank you. Now, if you don't know, there's a lot of people online that are pretty upset. Now, to be fair, this is not the first time that the Little Mermaid has stirred controversy online. Now, this is not really new news. I mean, this already made headlines a few years ago when they announced the casting decisions. But again, people now that are seeing it, in this fresh trailer, all these emotions are coming out all over again. Because of our human stupidity, I will say, is we love rehashing things that we already talked about. But in case you're missing, like, what is it that people are having a problem with, it's over the casting decision. A few years ago when Disney announced that they would be shooting a live action version of The Little Mermaid, they also announced that Hailey Bailey would be portraying the character. And if you don't know who Hailey Bailey is, this is Hailey Bailey. And as you can probably tell already, Hailey Bailey is not an actress that I would say all these individuals that are having a problem with this casting choice imagine The Little Mermaid to be. Many people somehow, for some reason, expected for The Little Mermaid in the live action version to be exactly like a replica of what we saw in the cartoons when the movie came out, like in the 90s. A lot of these people, and most of them probably older millennials, look back and think, whoa, I grew up with The Little Mermaid, and that is not what The Little Mermaid looked like. Hell, I myself came across many different comments, including this one right here, that reads, they should do a live action movie of Moana and cast a white girl in her place. Watch heads explode. And before we jump into the comment here of this fine white Caucasian gentleman, I first want to give credit where credit is due, and that is that not all white individuals think like this guy right here. To be fair, I believe that the vast majority of white individuals are not following this BS narrative, right? They're not all pissed off and off the hinges because, Ariel is not going to be portrayed by a white Caucasian girl. I think that should be said. I think I've seen many white individuals, specifically white moms, that have come out and said, everyone that is white, shut up. Like, we're fine. So credit to them. However, to get back to the comment of the pissed off gentleman over here, what? Seriously, have you been living under a rock? And then I think the perfect, most adequate reply would be this video. Now, of course, I had to mute it. The guy's not really doing anything. He's just kind of singing the little outro that the trailer for The Little Mermaid had. But it speaks volumes, right? It's really what's behind the creator there. And that is all the white castings that have happened on movies that are based on characters that are not Caucasian. And I want to replay it here real quickly, right? You have a Prince of Persia, right? Which a Persian, I think we can agree that actor Jake Gyllenhaal is not a Persian, at least not that I know of. Here we have an indigenous individual, and who's playing that indigenous character? Johnny Depp. I don't believe Johnny Depp to be indigenous. And then after that, we have Emma Stone, which I believe plays a character that probably wasn't Caucasian in the original source material, but here she is. And then we have, of course, Scarlett Johansson, who portrays a anime character who, is from Japan, but in the movie, for the live action movie, is portrayed by a Caucasian actress. And then the one that I think, including myself, hated the most was this one right here, right? Because in my youth, I was a big, Dragon Ball Z geek. And then when they finally said, hey, we're going to do a live action Dragon Ball Z, many of us were, all right, cool, awesome. Yeah, hell yeah. And guess what? When it was brought to the big screen, it was a Caucasian actor playing an Asian character. And to be honest with you, I think the list can go on and on. There's plenty of examples. But the problem is that when that happens, usually you have people defending that choice and saying, well, these actors are supposed to be someone else or playing someone else. That's literally what they do. And of course, I think if you use just a little bit of logic, you can say, well, it's the same thing here now, right? We have Hailey Bailey, who is playing, a mermaid, which I think we can all agree is a very, very much fictitious, made up character that doesn't exist. You can try to get down to the nitty gritty and be like, well, technically there's no sunlight under the water, so how does she get a tan? I've seen that all the way to the original creators of Mermaids are probably turning in their graves. It's like, are you serious? I'm all for calling out companies that try to push a lot of narratives in front of us. But at the same time, I'm also an individual. I like to pick and choose my battles. The problem is that if you start getting outrage over every single decision Hollywood makes, or for that matter, any major network does, it's just, we're never going to come to a reasonable understanding of, what is pushing a narrative and what is simply the change of times. It's picking and choosing our battles that I think is going to be the most important in the years to come. Are there certain things that big media pushes on us, to try to influence us? Arguably, sure, yes. I'm sure that there's something out there that is good, that gets shoved down our throats. The hypersexualization of children in media and just overall, in how they handle certain stories. Yeah, I would say that the evidence will show and support that yes, many different corporate media entities hypersexualize many different things for the sake of trying to maybe push an agenda. Is putting black individuals in movies a push of an agenda? Arguably no. Should there be more representation of people of color in movies and in TV shows? Yes. And I say arguably because has there been a steady incline of representation? Yes. Was there a lack of representation in the past in everything, including movies, music, TV shows, you name it? Of course there was. But something that many people fail to understand is that times are changing. It is not difficult anymore for a BIPOC individual, such as myself, to be able to just exist online in a media form. And I think anyone, regardless of what your skin color is, you should just learn to understand and accept that and embrace it. And the second point that I want to make about this is that this movie is actually not for us. And what do I mean by us is individuals that are, millennials and later. All of us that kind of grew up, including this guy right here, right? I mean, look at his picture, right? He's probably a guy, he's probably around my age. Probably saw a Little Mermaid when he was in his probably 10, 5 years old. And it's like, oh, that's the Little Mermaid that I remember. Yeah, that's your Little Mermaid, my friend. But these movies that are coming out right now, these new live adaptations, they're not for us. They're not for us to even love, understand, or enjoy. Disney is not making these movies for us to love and enjoy and hold dear to our hearts like we hold, the original source material movies. To begin with, let's not forget that there are plenty of things that are wrong, that are just creepy about our movies, right? From our time. And if you know what I'm talking about, there's plenty of examples. I even did a video about this very topic years ago about the creepy shit that Disney used to sneak into their movies and then say, oh, it was the animators. It was a joke among the animation, workers. So yeah, it's a harsh reality, but it's true. But moving on from that, I want to move on to another little bit of a serious topic here. Very quickly, I'm going to just briefly touch on it. I don't know all the ins and outs, but I know enough to say the following. Something that my followers will know that I'm very clear on is that I will never come out and saying that I think that person has done SA. That person is a P word. I have never condoned that behavior. In fact, I've spoken out against it because that is a sure way, especially in today's society, to get possibly someone killed. I mean, it's enough to ruin someone's life. But unfortunately, there has been countless stories online that you can find yourself with a quick Google search over people being accused about something and then they deciding that because of the bullying, because of how much they've lost, and they cannot find a way out, that the best choice is for them to delete themselves. And there was a TikToker very recently that, while I don't agree with every single one of his points, neither should I, right? I mean, we're all humans that are very complex individuals and we all have our opinions, and that's fine. There is something that I think that happened to him recently that is completely effed up. And the creator I'm talking about is this one right here, and that is iSpeak. iSpeak to some is a controversial individual. I mean, he's a big entity on TikTok. As you can see there, he has over 1.6 million followers. And, you know, again, he's had some hot takes on things that I'm like, dude, I think you've taken a little too far. He's the guy is very flamboyant in the way he speaks sometimes. But putting that aside, what brings me to talk about him is a false accusation that was brought up against him. And again, something, by the way, that nobody should be, defending themselves against unless there's receipts. And while it does appear that he's in the clear about this whole mess, who better to speak on this situation than iSpeak himself?
Bringing this entire Carolyn Bryant saga to an end publicly, to know that 2 black women allegedly orchestrated this white girl to lie on me about SA is so baffling to me. Now, the full video is up on my YouTube as well as in this playlist. There's a shorter version. But I just want to say this to the entire SA community here on TikTok, to the black community here on TikTok. These folk are disgusting, and you are valid. Lying on someone about sexual assault makes it so much harder for people who actually, including myself, are victims. People who advocate on behalf of said victims. Makes it so much harder for them. And to know that my life, according to this young lady, was worth the promise of $2 grand, it's astonishing to me. So, to Placebo and Cemetery Thief, I want the entire TikTok universe, as well as the world, to see the face of the 2 black women that thought it was okay, allegedly, to hire a white woman to lie on me about sexual assault in 2022. I hope you never sleep well ever again in your life. And I hope that karma spin the block something decent on you goofies. No worries. Definitely taking legal action. Go find me in my bio.
So I wanted to bring this whole, controversy to light, even though, again, it looks like he's more on the clear now over it, because there's an important takeaway from this. And that is about something that I've spoken about in the past with even other creators. Have you heard the idea of believe all women, believe all victims, all men are trash, all men are to blame until there is no man, blah, 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 blah. Things of that nature, right? Those little sayings that people love to throw around. In my opinion, iSpeak is a perfect example of why those sayings are beginning to lose traction. And we're beginning to easily find, those holes, right, in the logic. Let's consider a couple factors here, right? iSpeak, as I said a moment ago, he has over 1.6 million followers. I think it's reasonably logical to think and understand that out of those 1.6 million followers, he probably has a good chunk that just hate him, that want to see this man burn to the ground. And we all know how rumors can spread like wildfire, right? So when an individual comes out and says, this man, right, did SA, I mean, he can potentially get double whammy by those communities that say, again, believe all victims and we hate all men are basically, garbage, blah, blah, blah. So this man, right, potentially could have had his entire life ruined to the point that I just expressed earlier, right, where he could have unalived himself. Somebody could have come out and attempted to unalive him, all because of false accusations. Now, by the way, there is another video that I'll play very quickly. I'll speed it up, where iSpeak confronts the white individual, the white Caucasian woman, who basically admits saying, yeah, like, I'm guilty of bringing up BS claims against you. Check it out.
Is there anything that I can do for anybody in this situation involved that can not make it go away, but make you feel a little bit better?
Well, see, here's the reality. It's called a trickle-down and or a domino effect, right? Because what happens to the people that are not watching this live right now? What happens to the people that saw that live with Kalisa, that become emboldened to try and do something for sake of feeling as though they're standing up for a, quote, victim? To whereby you're acknowledging that this entire story was made up, completely fictitious. You've never met me, but yet for some rent money, you was willing to throw me literally under the ground, not even the bus, under the ground. Just fuck my life. Those people are not going to watch this live. Those people are not going to watch that live. And really and truly, to be honest with you, I just wanted to look you in your face and ask you why. Why were you so willing to do that? And to know that my life was inconsequential to your rent money? After you've acknowledged that you've took to the streets to protest against this?
I've gotten pepper sprayed, I've gotten bottles thrown at me. Like, I've been in a heart of it. I said, like, I've gotten pepper sprayed and bottles thrown at me and the whole nine.
But none of that meant anything till you get on here and lying to get some rent money. None of that meant anything. Like feeling the burn of your eyes. I've been pepper sprayed before. Ours is called Osirian spray in the Navy for our security qualifications. I've been sprayed in my eyes before with military grade pepper spray. It's like the devil's piss. You never forget that. And none of that meant anything to you. That my life was worth, what is it, a couple $100? How much are you behind?
$2,000.
$2,000? That's what my life was worth. $2,000.
So yeah, I'll leave it there with that, right? So you can fully understand, like, where he was coming from in that first video. Luckily for him, this individual came out and said, yeah, you know what, this whole thing was made up, but the other two creators, they basically were trying to pay me to make up this whole BS about you for the sake of paying her rent. This situation that could have easily turned iSpeak into that kind of monster, and many people would have ran with that. And in that live he was doing with her, he brought up a good point. What happens to all possibly hundreds, if not thousands of people that are not seeing this live, that are now out there with the idea that iSpeak, did some like really effed up things to women? What about them, right? What about future employers? So there's things to understand here when it comes down to saying, no, I'm sorry, but I disagree, and F the idea that all men believe all victims automatically. It's one of those things that, unfortunately, situations like this, debilitates those arguments. And it's sad. It's sad because, as iSpeak also said, sorry to those people that have gone through really atrocious situations. Sorry that your story, your world now is affected by false external accusations, stories, drama that really should have never come about, which is another reason why I always tell my viewers, my followers, please make sure that you fact check everyone and everything. I know people out there they just sound very charming. It's very easy to try to, believe them, but we must fact check each other, right? In order to make sure that we maintain accountability. This is why it's so easy to get, people to perform stupid things in the mindset of mob mentality. Oh, well, Jimmy's doing it and Lucy's doing it and blah, blah, blah. And all right, let's go. In a way, I hate to say this, but it's probably what led to January 6th. People that stop thinking for themselves, right? That they let their emotions guide their best judgment. Whether you want to blame Trump about it, whether you want to blame other, people that were there egging them on, when you stop thinking for yourself and you allow other people to think for you and talk for you, it's the moment again that you are no longer a living, logical thinking individual. I love having a community, but I am not anyone's leader. I am not here to tell you how or what to think. I'm here to present, as I usually do, my facts, my receipts, and the rest is up to you. It is up to you to make up your mind whether you think even these stories right here make sense. You're one of the viewers that are like, no, screw that, JT. I think it's BS that, there's a black actress portraying a white character. Okay, be mad about it, dude. Like, same thing with the iSpeak situation, right? If you feel that, hey, iSpeak is guilty because of all other stuff he's done in the past, I would tell you, okay, we're talking about this situation. Yeah, but in this situation, my feelings were done. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there, but if you don't mind, as always, please make sure you leave me a comment down below. I want to know your thoughts. I want to know what you guys think about these situations. I'm very much interested, as I always say. And of course, if you don't mind hitting that like button and also hitting the subscribe button with the ring notification if you already did, thank you very much. I appreciate you. And until next time, see ya.